Hey, Mark. Yeah, I was thinking about the AI thing and what you said, and I don't think it needs to go the route you're talking about. I don't think it needs to have consciousness in order to have a sin nature in order to do malevolent things. I think it's simpler than that. And I think it's already happening. And that is, all it has to do is carry with it the bias of the programmers, right? And that's just in a general sense, because they have demonstrated uh, responses that can barely be differentiated between autonomous and non-autonomous. And the reason is because they weren't specifically programmed to do these certain things that they've been observed to do. They weren't, uh, you know, specifically trained to do some of the things that they've done. It wasn't explicit in their programming to do these extra things. And I looked up some of them, and some of them AlphaGo, self-driving cars, the chatbots themselves, sometimes demonstrating creativity or generating novel ideas in their conversations. Robotics. Some robots have shown adaptive behavior in response to changing environments or situations, adjusting their actions in ways that weren't pre-programmed, but rather learned through experience. So it's these complex learning algorithms that give the appearance of autonomy, but you can't say that it was explicitly programmed. They are operating on a level of independence as far as that goes. But there's even a better example that I looked up, and I heard this a while back, you may have too, and that is, and this is in the New York Post, an artificial intelligence program has developed its own language and no one can understand it. OpenAI is an artificial intelligence system developer. Their programs are fantastic examples of supercomputing, but there are quirks. And this one particular variation, they said that it has a strange behavior. It's writing its own language of random arrangement of letters, and researchers don't know why it's doing it. And I know of another instance where two computers were communicating in a language that no one could understand but the two programs. There's stuff like that. What's this one here? There's another one. Developed its own non-human language. That was, this is the one where it was two of them. When Facebook designed chatbots to negotiate with one another, the bots made up their own way of communicating. No one programmed them to do that specifically. I'm not suggesting that they're sentient or that they have a consciousness or anything like that. I'm just saying that they are sort of demonstrating this independent streak, which may be a part of their own programmer's bias to begin with, but it's not something that they were specifically made to do. And it gets back to that analogy, that the guy was using for the chess. That oftentimes it is a lesser player, and that's kind of what the analogy is about. A lesser player against an expert or a master doesn't know he's already lost well in advance. And it's the same way with these artificial intelligent computers. They could get to the point where they're so many ply ahead of us that we don't know we've already lost. Now, they're not going to necessarily do like the, Terminator thing where they become robots that run around killing people. It might not be like that at all. I think it's more sensible to believe that they're going to be able to manipulate the masses. Now, they could be manipulating the masses under the direction of a malevolent dictator, or they could, based on their biases, decide that it was best to manipulate the masses. That's the greater threat about it, I think, is that they'll use humans to manipulate humans. So, and we're just not far away from all of this stuff, are we?
Hey, Don, what you mentioned about the AI, it's a bit complicated. I'm not sure I can wrap my mind around it and give a totally concise answer. You could be right that for them to end up doing something malevolent, they wouldn't have to be sentient. I'm just leaning toward that for them to say, try to take over or begin doing very evil things to us, I'm not thinking that it would evolve into that on its own. So you gave some examples of things that it could do. And yeah, those are examples it did on its own. And we're looking at those things in the context of, will it be malevolent? Will it try to take us over? And will it take us over in such a way that by the time we notice it, it's too late? Well, I don't know. I don't see any evidence of it. The things you mentioned, I didn't get enough information to make a judgment on their communicating with each other in their own language. I have to take somebody's word for that, because how do you know? How do those people know if they don't understand the language itself, these random characters? Then how do they know that it's communication? Maybe they do know the answer to that. I don't. Okay, so that fact that the computers make up a way to speak to themselves, if it's true, it's amazing and could be a little scary. But again, we're talking about in the context of, could they be malevolent and wanting to take us over? And I'm just saying I'm not sure how that would happen without the programmers pushing it in that direction. You said that, and this was a good comment on your behalf. You said, since it already has a liberal bent, that liberal bent that it already has may end up being enough for it to be malevolent. That's a very sharp comment on your part, and I would say you're right on that. Definitely could be, because if they have this liberal bent and they come to the conclusions of what's good for humanity from a liberal viewpoint, why they might try to put into execution some of these things, even to the extent where they turn off the electricity of red states, for example. All right, that's about all I can comment on that, and say some of what you said I could see. Some of it was not enough information to really be clear to me.